All right, guys. So I've been running into some issues with the BMW not liking anything less than 25 psi in the tires. If you run less than 25 psi in the tires and you do have the TPMS sensors in the wheels, the car is going to get pissed and it's going to say reduce power, which in that case, you're not going to be able to run the quarter mile time that you want to run, or the 60 to 130, or whatever your goal is. So one way to take care of that would probably just be to remove the TPMS sensors, which in that case, you would have to deal with the light all the time. But I found a better way of doing that without removing the TPMS sensors. And I figured that out last night. So first thing you're going to want to do is probably take all your valve stem caps off, because as you're dropping tire pressure, especially if you're doing it on the side of the road or whatever, you just want to save yourself a little bit of time. So remove all four of those. You can just put them back on later. Okay. And then, so for example, I went out last night, I did this, and had my tires at about 26. I usually race between 26 and 28 just because of the rule. So what I did is I dropped them down to 20 to 22, okay? And when I did that, immediately the car got pissed. And then the next step is to put the car into learning mode. So you're basically going to go into your tire settings menu, which is, you hit home and you hit, car or vehicle status or something like that. And you go into your TPMS and you basically just start the learning process. Now, when you do this, the car has to be completely stopped for you to start this process. So the best time to do this is actually to get to your spot where you're about to make your hit, okay? And then start the learning process and then do your quarter mile hit. And it takes about a half a mile for the car to recognize that you're running that low of tire pressure and to give you that warning on the dash. And then it's going to reduce power and boost. Okay. So if you don't want to deal with this at all, just pull your sensors and just deal with the dummy light. There may be a way to code it out with Beamer code or some kind of more advanced software. Maybe the dealer has access to it, or maybe there's a universal software that you can use to code out the sensors. I don't know if you can do it with ISTA or whatever the case may be. But for right now, this is what I'm going to do, and this is going to be the technique that I'm going to use because I don't want to remove my TPMS sensors, because I do normally drive around at about 30 on the street. So, but when I want to go down and party in the 20s, that's what's going to need to be done. And I don't suggest anybody do this with an R888R or a Pilot Cup or anything like that, autocross tires. And the reason that is because autocross tires, or factory tires, have a stiffer sidewall. So by going down to say 18 PSI, you're not going to see any benefits in traction, because being the sidewall is so stiff, the tire is just going to start to cave in on the center, and it's not going to cave in on the outsides of the tire like you want it to with a drag radial. So I don't think there's going to be any traction benefits going down below 25 PSI on a stock tire or an R888R or something that's similar to that. Those tires are made to be run at higher tire pressures, and they're actually made to be run around a track, not a drag strip or the street with low tire pressures. So not that they can't hook, they're very good tires. Sometimes they tend to heat up and even perform a little better when they're cold compared to a drag radial, especially real cold temps. So they are a great tire, and you can get really, really good 60 foots. I just like to have a drag racing tire because most of the type of driving that I do is from a dig. So that is why I like, a Nitto or a Mickey Thompson or something along those lines. Now, I notice another guy who's going 400s faster than me. He runs a Mickey, and I've had a couple of people ask me why I'm not running the Mickey, and I'll tell you why. The Mickey's a very good tire. It's a very sticky tire, and I do like it better for the track. But for the street, I prefer the Nitto because it's better in the rain. And I also notice with my Mickeys and my M&H's, driving them on the street, I would get a lot of nipple wear, which the tire kind of looks textured. And you get this from excessive wheel spin, driving on rocky pavement, construction zones, stuff like that. And when the tire starts to get that kind of ripple texture to it, your 60 foots are shit. And the only way to get rid of that is to do like a John Force burnout. And I hated that about the Mickeys and the M&Hs. I don't know if it's the different compound they use, but it always bothered me. I had that problem like really, really bad with my Cadillac CTS-V, the Camaro, and a little bit on the Supra. The Supra wasn't as bad because, the Supra wasn't as heavy. I wasn't seeing as much wheel spin. It wasn't making as much horsepower as other cars that I've had that have made, 700-800 wheel. So, but anyways, I'm not going to talk about tires anymore. I'm not going to get off track too much. But I'm going to go inside and I'm going to show you guys what's going on with the TPMS. And then I'm just going to give you a little walkthrough on how to do what I just told you to do if you want to run a drag radial and you want to go down to, say, 18 PSI at the track or on the street. You're running a no prep event or something like that. And you want to make sure the car is going to dead hook and take everything you give, that you throw at it. Say you want to launch your car and you want to start throwing in power with a XHP, a lot of torque, you're going to have issues with 25, 30 PSI in the tires. So I haven't experimented yet. Right now I have 15% out of launch torque and launch scaling on XHP. And I'm cutting like 58s, 59s. With higher tire pressures, like we talked about, 26, 28, I'm seeing like 60, 62s, which are just not acceptable for me. They may be for certain people, but that's junk 60 foot for myself. So yeah, now that I know that I can go down on my tire pressure, now I can start putting a lot more power into it and a lot more torque into the launch. And then we should hopefully see some amazing things, and hopefully we don't break anything, because we all know that 18 PSI and a lot more torque out of the hole she's going to leave hard. It would be nice if I could cut like 55s on the street consistently. Then I would be happy. And I don't care how low I have to go on the tire pressure for that to happen. I have noticed mile an hour hasn't been affected from say 26 to 20. I don't know if 16 or 18 PSI is probably going to affect a mile an hour at that point. At that point, you're going to have to figure out what's more important to you, is your 60 foot and how much mile an hour are you really going to lose. Because, the rolling resistance and all that stuff changes. You're almost driving on a half flat tire at that point. So it could also feel a little sketchy at 145. So I'm going to try to see what I can get to do, like 20 or 22. Might not even need that at the track. Might be able to run 26 at the track and the car dead hook. So at the track, you always want to run the most pressure you can and still hook, because it's only going to benefit you. There's no reason for you to go down to 18 at the track if you don't need 18 at the track and the track is on point. It's a prep surface and you got a hot tire, the pavement's hot, and everything else. So, all right, guys, I'm going to switch angles. So we're going to start a new video. I'm going to go inside the car and I'm going to show you how to do it. All right, guys, so we're going to get in the car. And as you can see, my tire pressure is extremely low right now because the car's been sitting all night too in the cold. And it's, I don't know, it was like 62 degrees this morning or something. So as you can see, I got 19, 20 in the front, 19, 18 in the rear, which they're always an odd amount. And I have a problem always getting them even. But if you start the car, you're immediately going to get that warning light, which is, low tire pressure. Stop carefully, especially if it says you have the run flats, which this doesn't apply to me. I didn't pay for the premium tires. Okay, this is just my me not having my front seat in the car. So, but anyways, it says you continue driving 50 miles per hour, and it says stop and use a tire repair kit or a donut or whatever, because it thinks because you're running such low tire pressure that you have an extreme leak or a flat tire at this point. So the only way to get around this, okay, would be to go into your vehicle status menu. Then you're going to go right here where it says tire pressure monitor, okay, and you're going to go to tire settings, and then right here where it says perform reset. So right here, before you make your quarter mile pass, obviously this isn't going to benefit you if you're doing a 60 to 130, because honestly, guys, if you're doing 60 to 130s, you should be at like 40 psi in your tires, because you want the least amount of rolling resistance, maybe even 45 if you're nuts, but probably not needed, especially 45. I don't know what your max tire pressure is on your tire. I wouldn't suggest going above that. So right before I make my quarter mile hit, and it would be after my burnout if I do a burnout, okay, I would hit this perform reset. Now, when I hit this perform reset, it's going to start a reset, and then it's going to start running through its process, and you should have the quarter mile done before it's done with that process. So that process takes about a half a mile, only because of the excessive speed. If you're going a normal speed, it takes much longer than a half a mile. But if you are doing a quarter mile, you're obviously accelerating fast. You're obviously going to perform the test faster than normal, because you know you're going 0 to say 145. Okay, so when you do this reset normally, you know, it's going to take longer if you're just driving slow. Also, I've noticed if you want to be able to run them at 25 comfortably, it might be nice to run them at about 29 or 30 and then do a reset. And it'll actually program them at like 29 or 30, and then it will actually let you go down to 25 comfortably without having this issue. So that's what I like to do for the street. But when I'm making drag hits, and I don't want to pull my TPMS sensors, definitely going to want to do this perform reset right before you get on the launch control, right before you make a hit. And right after this is done and this is complete, you are going to be reduced power and reduced boost and all that. So no big deal though, because you know you got the job done, right? That's all that matters. So yeah, that's about it, guys. I'm going to wrap this up now. This has been a longer video, but I figured I would share this information with you. I know that, you know, this might benefit my competitors, whether that be M-Life with port injection, or, you know, Stig and M Powerhouse, Tony Vargas, all those guys. I don't care. I don't keep secrets. I'm not trying to have an advantage over anybody. I don't care. I want everybody to go fast on this platform. I want everybody to thrive, because it just makes us all look better in the long run when we've got a dozen G80s that are all running in the nines, mid nines, and it really is just going to piss off all the V8 guys and the GTR guys and the Daza guys, which is really what I want to do. I want these guys to sell their fucking cars and go buy a G80, because S58 is the GOAT.